Alrighty then, going into the topics tonight. There is no now showing, unfortunately. Our first topic for the night is the Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel actually has an official title. This time we are getting Ghostbusters Firehouse. For those of you that
Hmm.
don't know, I believe we are supposed to be getting back Paul Rudd and McKenna. I believe it's McKenna Grace. It might be Mackenzie Grace. I have no idea what her name is, but she was really, really good in it. So apparently she is going to be coming back as well as Paul Rudd. As far as anybody else, we don't entirely know. We do know there are some
Hmm.
newcomers coming in, which is fine. If you do not bring back podcasts for obvious reasons, I will come and find you.
Do we not know who
I
the
have
newcomers
faith.
for the movies are? Or no.
There's been no official progress as far as that goes, or at least none that's
Hmm.
been released. So whenever it comes to that, we just don't know. We do know that it is officially taking place in New York, which is awesome. I love that idea of bringing it back to New York. Unfortunately, Ivan Reitman will not be involved because he has unfortunately passed. But his son
Yeah.
Jason Reitman is going to be directing this, and I believe co-writing it as well.
Mhm.
Oh,
So that's good.
cool.
Now, as far as whether or not Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, or sorry, as far as Dan Aykroyd, or obvious Harold Ramis won't show up. As far as Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, and Ernie Hudson, we don't know. I would imagine Ernie Hudson is going to show up. As far as Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray, most likely not.
I can see them
Bill
probably
Murray
like
still acting?
using them to do cameos, like
Well,
small
that's what I'm
cameos.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that, well, granted, with it being Winston essentially bought back the firehouse and is like revitalizing the crew. So I don't know about Ray or Venkman showing back up. Maybe Ray.
Mhm.
I could see Ray probably showing up, but as far as Venkman goes, probably not. I don't think Bill Murray. I mean, like
Yeah.
you saw how little he was in it to begin with. So it just comes down
Yeah.
to I think it's one of those things. It's like, okay, that's fine. Would I like Janine to show back up? Sure. I'd love to
Mhm.
see her. But yeah, no, I absolutely I grew up with Ghostbusters. Obviously, but the
Yeah.
first two films had already come out by the time I was in like discovering them. So it
Mhm.
just came down to one of those things. But
Mhm.
I've always loved it, and I didn't go out of my way to go see Ghostbusters
Mhm.
2016, but I thought it looked okay. And then I finally saw it, and I'm like, it's fine. There's some decent moments in it. Like I'm not saying the entire movie's dog shit. It's okay.
Okay is a good word
Mhm.
for it.
It's
Okay is
okay.
the best
It's-
word for it. It is decent.
Yeah.
Decent is another word. Like it is
I,
just
me personally, I really enjoy it. I actually really enjoyed it. Melissa McCarthy is one of my favorite actresses, and she's just fucking hilarious throughout that whole movie. So that was an upside for me. I remember watching the cartoon series growing up, and not a lot of people watching that movie actually knows that there's a full female team for Ghostbusters. So that's where
Mhm.
that idea came from. So that's why
yeah.
a lot of
That
people were
they
dogging it because they
also
Oh,
didn't understand.
no
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't. You okay? The more you know.
Well,
'Cause
it is one
honestly,
of
I
those
didn't know
things.
anything about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it is one of those things. However, it was not basically, oh, this is still in the same universe, even though one of the marketing plots was that. Um,
Mhm.
it is just a hard reboot, and I think it was just around that time where they're like, oh yeah, we could win some brownie points here. Let's make them all female and go from there.
It was a
So
The
stack cast.
brownie
I will
point.
say it
it
was a
definitely
stack
was a
Stackhouse.
cast. I
stacked
think it was
cast.
just poor,
It was
poor
bad
writing.
writing. The writing was its downfall.
There
It could
was
have been
no
a lot
writing.
better.
That's the thing. There was little to
There
no
was no
writing.
writing.
It was
Yeah.
Really?
a majority of the lines were ad libbed.
Uh huh. Oh damn.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
it's like they told the actresses, okay, this is a Ghostbusters movie and action.
yeah, pretty much.
Just
And
wing the
that's why
shit
we
out of
got
it.
a lot
Okay.
of the jokes. Yeah. So a lot. That's why if a good chunk of the jokes fell flat, it was either bad
Mm.
writing or it was really bad ad libbing.
And it was improv. It was just, I think it was that Ghostbusters felt like just the improv of the movie.
Well, the thing is Bill Murray ad libbed a shitload of his lines from the first Ghostbusters movie, and arguably some of the second as well.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it fit
Um,
with like this, like
It
It
fit
fit
with the
with the
it's like
narrative.
character.
the script.
Yeah, it
And
fit with the narrative and everything else. But and then they're like, okay, so we got 4 people that have been on SNL. They should just naturally be funny. It's not like their stuff is written.
Mhm. Mm.
So
Yes and
have
no.
fun, ladies. Do what you got to do. And like, I feel
I-
like
I
Melissa
still-
McCarthy could do a good job, but
Yeah,
I don't.
she
I
did
don't
an
know.
amazing. My favorite scene is when one of the ladies gets possessed and
That
the
was
bigger
funny.
lady's just bitch slapping the hell out of her. It was
Yeah.
like my favorite part. I don't know
That-
why. I just thought it was funny as hell.
The
That was
slap was
100%
funny,
yeah.
yes, but the fact that she yelled "The power of Patty compels you," I was like, and I'm
That
out.
killed it.
Yeah, that's what killed it. If it
I
would have
don't
just
know,
been a
maybe-
fucking slap, I would have laughed my ass off. That would have been like, that's
think-
fucking.
I don't know.
hilarious.
That full joke like really made me laugh. so.
There's a couple jokes that Chris Hemsworth has in that movie that actually make me laugh. Like
They're funny.
whenever he's like scratching his eyes through his glasses, and it's like, so why no glass? It's like, oh, they just kept getting dirty, so I just got rid of them. I was like, that's funny.
I love.
I like that.
I always love the fact that from the 2016 movie they did the reverse blonde chick, the dumb blonde
Oh yeah,
chick,
they
the
did the himbo
redundant
shit.
blonde
And
dude.
that's- yeah, they
Yeah,
did the
it's just
himbo
like,
shit. That's
okay.
funny. Yeah.
That was
It-
such a like after watching Thor when that movie came out,
Oh yeah.
and then you see Chris Hemsworth, this big burly man acting all
Yeah.
macho, and then you see him in Ghostbusters as a dumb blonde.
Yeah.
It was a weird
So-
turn, but it was a funny turn.
Yeah.
It
So,
really
in my opinion,
was.
there is, and again, I still not a lot of opinions, but like I do agree with a lot of what Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic, says. He actually did a review of Ghostbusters 2016. He said for every funny scene, it is followed immediately by an awkward or unfunny scene, and therefore makes it unfunny. So it's one of those things. It's like you can have a really there's a really good joke, like the Kevin one with the glasses, and then it's followed by somebody hits a gong and he covers his eyes and he said, "Oh, that's loud. That's very, very loud." It's like he mistakes his eyes for his ears.
Mm-hmm.
You had a good joke, and then you ruined it. Like Leon, I know I keep doing this with movies that you love, and I fucking hate that I'm doing it, but.
Well, for movies, it's to each their own.
That
Like
is
I
true.
can have a couple movies that I absolutely love that you hate.
I
So-
mean, everybody hates that I love the live action Mortal Kombat movies. So I mean,
Dude, I fucking love those movies.
everybody says
I
love.
why, and
Well,
they're like,
I
Annihilation
like
is
the movie.
ass. I will say this: Annihilation is god awful.
I will agree with
The
you, but at the
CGI
same
is
time,
awful for that one.
I still enjoy it, even though the CGI was crap. I still.
Oh no,
enjoy
no,
it.
even I still enjoy it. Like it's like one of those. It's like you get a couple beers in you, and you're with a group
It's
of
one
friends,
of-
and you
the
just rip the
first one
shit out of it.
anyway. The first one
Yeah.
anyway is one of those feel good movies.
Yeah, it's a really good would I have loved it to have been rated R? Yes, but now I have a rated R version that has no tournament, which kind of pisses me
Which
off.
they kind of just said, "Hey, you wanted a Mortal Kombat? Let's just give you the fights and just no plot."
And I'm
just
glad that
like-
that's actually getting a sequel, and we have Carl Urban. I still don't know how I feel about Carl Urban playing Johnny Cage.
I feel like there should have been tournaments. That's all I gotta say. I feel like it would have been a lot. It would have done a lot successful if
So
at least it
who?
would have had tournaments.
So who would you pick as Johnny Cage then?
I heard a lot
Honestly.
of people saying The Miz would have been a good choice, and I feel like he would have.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah! I fully
I
believe
just
that Miz
like-
would have been a perfect
like-
choice
like,
for
I
that.
can
He
s-
plays
I
that
can
inside the WWE.
Yeah,
I can see it, but at the same time, I feel like there's better.
And if you wanted to
There's
go
better
for like maybe a more A-lister, I feel like Chris Pratt would have been a really good choice for Johnny Cage.
Chris Pratt would have made it interesting.
Yeah, I feel like
Johnny.
he would have been an interesting one. The only other one I would say honestly would work, and granted he kind of has a similar issue to Urban because he is a little older, is Chris Evans would have been a good choice.
Chris
I feel like
Evans.
Chris Evans could have done a
Yeah.
good job as Johnny Cage.
A lot of Chris's.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can 100% see him now. Now I'm thinking about it because
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it just reminds me of like comparing him with that role. It just reminds me of when he was doing the Human Torch for Fantastic Four. I'm like,
Yeah.
it reminds me of
Full
that
of
kind of
himself,
cocky man.
kind of,
Like,
yeah, cocky, yeah. No, exactly, and that's the great thing. But back onto Ghostbusters. Here's the thing. I'm excited about this because Ghostbusters Afterlife was actually, in my opinion, was a true and proper sequel that we should have gotten years earlier.
Mhm.
Now, don't get me
Yeah,
wrong. I definitely have
agree.
my issues with Ghostbusters Afterlife as well. They're just overshadowed by so many good moments that I just can't help but love it.
Mhm.
And it is one of
Yeah.
those things. It's like, I mean, like, you want a good example? I have a fucking proton pack. I have
The Funko
these
Pops.
the Funko Pops. Exactly. Like I have these Funko Pops. Like if I can get my damn camera back in line
Well,
here.
and it doesn't matter what. Like we went to a convention, and I don't know how many
Oh, well, that's because there's a
cosplayers for
Ghostbusters.
that. Yeah, well,
Yeah, there's a Ghostbusters group
well,
in that area.
Well, even so, I've been
Yeah.
to conventions in Oklahoma and Texas, and I think I even went to one in Kansas one time, maybe.
Yeah.
But like I've been to them all over the place. There's always Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter
Like,
where
I,
you
Yeah, of course.
I texted Blackshed of a guy who he modified that proton pack that he has, and it's
Yeah.
sick.
It's glorious. Yeah, it's fucking phenomenal.
It's
I
like
love
moving slime and stuff, and he's
Yeah,
like,
it's
"Bro,
actually
that's-
really cool. See,
Yeah, it's one of those classic movies and movie and animated series because
yeah.
that's what I grew up on. Like not only movies, I remember watching the animated show.
My great aunt actually had she had a copy of Ghostbusters on DVD, and in that copy you actually get to watch the first episode of the real Ghostbusters. They actually has one of the
really?
special
Oh, wow.
features, so I was able to watch the first episode, and that was the one where their suits get possessed because it still has elements of Gozer on the uniforms.
Mhm.
And it was I absolutely fell in love with it. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about the design. The design's a little weird, like on Egon especially. I was like,
Yeah.
no, but but no,
Right.
like the show is phenomenal. Like you have some of the better ideas of like what these ghosts are. You eventually fight the they fight the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. There's so much originality with that show, and it's just one of those things. It's like I see why Ghostbusters is iconic as it is because I am a fan of it.
Mhm.
And it works better if you watch it as a kid. I think like
Yeah.
if you watch it as an adult, you're not gonna get into it as much, or if you know about it as an adult, you're not gonna like. You're like my buddy Benji. He tried to get into Ghostbusters. That's actually how I got these Funko Pops as well. He tried to get into Ghostbusters. Because he's like, oh, this is like considered heralded as one of the greats, and he it was so overhyped for him that he looks at it, he's like, it's okay. I don't hate
Yeah.
it, but it's
I
not my
think-
favorite.
I think that's the problem. I think it's like when you try to like just with anything, you try to overhype something to someone and you like build up this idea of them, and they might like even build up even more a higher expectation of what they think.
Exactly. It's always one of those things. It's like if you overhype something and then you try to introduce it to somebody, obviously, unless it's just that phenomenal, you're never gonna force somebody to like something.
Agreed.
Like I would argue Lord of the Rings is kind of a similar situation. You can overhype the hell out of Lord of the Rings and somebody be like, that's a really good fantasy movie. Why does it need to be 4 hours?
Yeah, a lot of people say
I
it's
don't know, bro.
too long.
You take
for
that
a lot
back.
of people.
No, I'm just kidding.
Dude, no,
I
I'm
know,
an
I
avid
know.
lover of Lord of the Rings.
I
Come
know.
on.
So
It's
am
about
I.
it's about 9 guys trying to return jewelry, basically.
Yeah.
Well,
Return
it is.
jewelry into a pit of fire.
Trying to not return jewelry, trying to destroy somebody else's
Destroy jewelry. Okay.
One ring
Yeah.
to rule them
before
all.
he finds them.
Hey, if it was Lord of the Rings in the hood, it would have been a gold chain.
Oh man.
One
And instead of
chain to rule them all.
instead of Sauron, it's like it's freaking they just call him S.
Or Tyrone.
Or Tyrone.
Oh,
All right, before we get completely canceled, this is pretty hilarious. Anyways, before we get canceled, I think we're gonna go ahead and go into our next topic.
next
Unless you
topic.
guys have any other thoughts, comments, concerns on the title for the next Ghostbusters movie.
I
like
don't
it.
know. I think they could do a better job with the title, honestly. Ghostbusters
Okay.
Firehouse. I don't hate it. I think it's okay. I just think they can do something a little bit better on the cool.
Honestly, the
That's
title
definitely
sounds like a new
nostalgic.
game.
It does sound like a game.
Yeah.